Well, thank you. That was awesome. Thank you to everyone for joining me today. And I'm so glad to be talking with all of you today about why it is so important that we make a federal investment in those clean school buses and promote clean energy and protect the health of our kids, as well as my legislation, the Clean School Bus Act. I'm really pleased today to be joined by representatives from Vancouver Public Schools, Tacoma Public Utility, Franklin Pierce Public Schools, and Mom's Clean Air Force, and I'm excited that you will be able to hear from each of them today as well. This month is Asthma Awareness Month, so I can think of no better time to talk about how critical it is we finally make a big investment in clean energy with the future of our planet, our environment, and the health of our kids in mind. Every day, more than 25 million children and tens of thousands of bus drivers breathe polluted air during their commute to school because 95% of the buses our children ride to school in use diesel fuel. That hurts students' health and academic performance, particularly for students with asthma and other respiratory conditions. In fact, experts now know the air inside school buses is so bad that the air inside the school bus cabin has been found to be 5 to 10 times more polluted as the communities around them. And we know these effects are not evenly distributed. Children in underserved and rural communities face an even higher threat from this pollution. In many high poverty areas and communities of color, a frequent cause of school absenteeism for kids is asthma-related hospital visits. Not to mention transportation accounts for the largest share of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. With approximately 500,000 school buses on the road traveling over 3 billion miles per year, it is so important that we take steps to transition to cleaner buses. President Biden recently unveiled his new American Jobs Plan, and that proposal adopts my bill to electrify the nation's school bus fleet by making a major investment in grants for school districts to purchase EV school buses. It makes major investments in green infrastructure and transit, like $100 billion to bolster the country's electric grid and phase out fossil fuels. It would make a $174 billion investment in electric vehicles and electric vehicle infrastructure. And it would ask Congress to adopt a clean electricity standard, which would set specific targets to cut how much coal and gas-fired electricity power companies use over time. This policy can drive a 70 to 80% reduction in carbon emissions in the United States by 2035. It would establish a new civilian climate corps, which would employ people to restore landscapes and help prepare communities for global warming damaging effects. And it would target 40% of the benefits of climate and clean infrastructure investments to disadvantaged communities. But today I want to specifically call attention to my bill to electrify our nation's school bus fleet, which again has largely been included in the president's proposal. So here's what the Clean School Bus Act would do. It would authorize $1 billion over 5 years at the Department of Energy to fund a clean school bus grant program to spur increased adoption of this clean technology. It would provide grants of up to $2 million per school district to replace diesel school buses with electric school buses, invest in charging infrastructure, and support workforce development, which is important because right now electric vehicle school buses cost significantly more than diesel. So it's often too expensive upfront for many school districts to purchase these clean buses. And it would give priority to school districts that serve a high percentage of students from families with low incomes, replace the most polluting buses, and leverage the funding to further decrease pollution and emissions, including through partnerships with local utilities. Because remember, as we invest in clean energy, we want to ensure equity and environmental justice are a central part to our efforts. And as we work to ensure a brighter future for children in Washington State and across the country, it's so crucial for both the health of our students and the future of our planet, we invest in zero emission transportation. So this legislation is good for the health of our students, for the economy, and for our planet. and really it is long overdue. So I look forward to working with my Senate colleagues and Vice President Harris to pass this bill and help school districts across the country follow the lead of Washington State. So I'm excited to be here today, and I'm going to pass it over to Brett Blechschmidt. He is the Associate Superintendent and Chief Operating Officer for Vancouver Public Schools, who authored VPS's grant application to the Washington Department of Ecology in order to fund those 3 brand new e-buses you saw the video on. So Brett, up to you.
Thank you very much, Senator Murray. I'm really excited to be able to share some of the details about how Vancouver Public Schools acquired those 3 electric buses and what they mean to our communities. So I'll start with just a little history. We've been approached over the years by multiple opportunities to possibly convert some of our fleet to electric. In all cases, up until this Department of Ecology grant, all of them fell short of the significant cost differential that you referenced between the upfront cost of a diesel bus versus an electric bus. So although we were intrigued, we just couldn't justify that type of upfront expenditure. We were so thankful when the Department of Ecology offered the funding opportunity that they had through the Volkswagen Settlement Fund, and that fully made up the shortfall and invested in the infrastructure that was necessary to charge the buses. So part of the reason we're so grateful for this partnership is we see just massive long-term benefits from this program, and we're obviously interested in expanding it. Those benefits include community health, certainly, but then also district operating budgets. Starting on the community health front, we learned through the grant process with Department of Ecology that Vancouver actually has the bulk of our community scored a 9 or a 10 on the Washington Tracking Network's diesel pollution and disproportionately impacted communities assessment. This is a metric that was credible enough to carry significant weight in the Department of Ecology's grant application scoring rubric. It certainly got our attention and made us want to be a part of solving what is obviously a significant problem in our community. Besides the health benefits to our students and community as whole, my responsibilities as the district's budgeteer kind of require me to talk a little bit about the operating side of the equation. We anticipate we will save between $5,000 to $10,000 per year for every electric bus we put on the road. These are dollars that can then be repurposed and put directly into classrooms and direct services to meet the increasingly complex academic and social emotional needs of our kids. I suspect that every state has a slightly different model by which they provide funding for school districts to purchase school buses. However, I can't imagine any current funding method would be sufficient to allow for that significant cost differential without some sort of subsidy or grant applications, or they would be resigned to reducing programs to students, which I think none of us would advocate. For all these reasons, we were extremely excited to learn of Senator Murray's bold plan to help remove some of these short-term cost barriers that prevent school districts across the country from reaping the significant long-term benefits for our children and communities. Again, we're just really happy to be participating at the level we're at, and we're interested in learning even more, and I appreciate the opportunity to share our story. With that, I'll turn it over to Jackie Flowers, who's representing Tacoma Public Utilities.
Thank you for that introduction, Brett. And Senator Murray, thank you for continuing your leadership in the Senate to secure investments that our communities need. I also want to thank your team for the engagement on this legislation, and in general, we really value and appreciate the relationship we have with you and your office. This is really impactful legislation, and it fits right into a main focus area for Tacoma Public Utilities. Tacoma Power generates renewable, carbon-free hydropower to provide our customers with clean, reliable electricity they depend on to power their homes, their businesses, and schools. And we are working with our customers to look for ways that we can power new vehicles, new businesses, and new jobs with the same clean energy that has powered our community for more than 100 years. In 2019, we were proud to partner with the Franklin Pierce School District to celebrate the arrival of the first electric school bus in Washington State. I understand that 3 more electric school buses are on the way to the district. and we are teaming with other school districts to serve to support their business electrification programs and ensure we are ready for these new uses for our renewable carbon-free hydropower. In 2020, we became the first community-owned utility in Washington state to adopt a transportation electrification plan in compliance with a Washington state law that we supported. That plan focuses on powering cars, trucks, school buses, ships, and industrial equipment with TPU's carbon-free hydropower. Senator Murray's legislation will provide important support for that work. It will provide federal resources to school districts to invest in cleaner transportation options without impacting programs like we just heard. Senator Murray, we look forward to continuing our work with you and your team to get this legislation to the president's desk so we can fuel the school buses of the future with our renewable, clean hydropower and reduce emissions for the benefit of students and everyone in our community. And now I'm pleased to introduce Franklin Pierce School Superintendent Lance Goodpaster.
Thank you very much, Jackie, and thank you to Tacoma Public Utilities for our great partnership in bringing that first school bus to public education in the state of Washington. So Franklin Pierce Schools, we're located just south of the Tacoma School District in unincorporated Pierce County. We serve roughly 7,500 students in approximately 14 square miles. And as we've mentioned, we're the proud owners of the first public school electric school bus in the state, and we have 3 more on the way. We need to commit to healthy bus rides. Most of our 7,500 students rely on buses to attend school. These vehicles and our drivers are critical components of our students' education and equalizers in addressing barriers. Some ways in which the bus ride impacts our students include the fact that the bus ride is the first and last school-related experience our students have each day. Our drivers and buses provide stability and consistent access for students experiencing homelessness in the foster care system and those with other barriers to education. Bus rides allow students to participate in activities before and after school. And this year, our buses served as mobile restaurants in our community as families adjusted to the pandemic and remote education. Electric buses provide a healthy and environmentally beneficial alternative for our students and our communities. I'm going to be a little repetitive here to what you've heard already, but these buses are significant upgrades. They are quiet. The difference is tangible. For any of us who have grown up riding school buses, it's the first thing that you notice. You can sit in the seats and speak to the person next to you and even in the seats near you without having to yell over the sound of the engine. This fact alone changes the behavior of the students on the bus and creates a safer riding environment. The drivers, it's safer for the drivers included. They're able to communicate with the students via talking to them while driving without the need to yell back over the sound of the engine. We've already heard about the air quality difference. That's also noticeable. It's not just something that we can measure through standard scales. You notice it as you're riding on the bus and when you're standing next to the bus. We all think about how often a bus is stopped near people while idling. The significant difference in air quality is noticeable and much healthier for our students in the community. Electric buses also provide educational opportunities related to sustainability and our environment that our teaching staff will be able to rely on and use through the school and learning opportunities. The buses do cost significantly more than traditionally fueled buses. Because of the grant partnerships, we were able to acquire our buses at a cost equivalent to the traditional buses, but more opportunities in Senator Murray's legislation is absolutely a must in order for districts to take advantage of adding electric buses to their fleets. Brett mentioned this, but once the bus is acquired, the annual savings are significant. No fuel costs, obviously, and really a significant change in maintenance costs. We anticipate up to $16,000 savings per bus per year. So we've been pleased with the addition of our electric bus. It's fun to step on it and take a ride. And we're looking forward to the additional 3 arriving sometime during the next school year. We also look forward to a time when electric buses are the norm and affordable for all districts throughout the state and really the nation. So it's my privilege now to turn it over to Rachel Heaton from Mom's Clean Air Force.
Hi, thank you for that intro, Lance. And first, I would like to say thank you to Senator Murray and Senator Cortez and Representative Hayes for introducing this legislation. Again, my name is Rachel Heaton. I am a member of Mom's Clean Air Force, and I'm also a member of I'm an enrolled member of the Muckleshoot tribe, and I'm a descendant of the Duwamish people. I'm really honored to be here speaking with all of you today. I think as we move in the direction, I consider myself an environmental protector as well. And so this really ties in to that, to that work. One of the things that comes up when we talk about transitioning to green energy is the conversation of jobs. And so I'm happy to see that this plan really ties in with the American Jobs Plan. And because this gives us an opportunity not to just transition to electric school buses, but the opportunity to rebuild our country's infrastructure and invest in a way that they haven't before. And so as a Native person, being able to have these conversations from a policy standpoint, it's truly an honor to be a part of this conversation from the beginning. And so as part of this plan that comes up of asking about jobs, I'm excited about the jobs that will be created by this. And as part of that plan, and thousands of buses and other forms of transportation moving towards renewable energy sources and electrifying buses. In the process, we're protecting Mother Earth, and we're creating a safer environment for our children. And so I think beyond those things are, specifically in our low income communities and communities like mine, children continue to be exposed to diesel pollution. And obviously there's a rise in asthma attacks, and in turn that creates a domino effect of other issues: missing school, rising medical costs, loss of work for parents, and kind of just the effects of all of those things. So the idea of knowing that we're creating a cleaner environment, I know one of the teachings that anybody who's worked with our Native communities, we always plan 7 generations ahead. So this work is really planning not just for our children today, but it's creating a future, for the 7 generations after us and beyond that. So I'm thankful again to be a voice, here to talk about the impacts, particularly I know in my communities and other communities of color, that how beneficial and also the positive domino effect from moving in this direction. So to support this bill is also to support our communities, and our communities that are placed at the highest risk in health and that unhealthy impacts that are created by diesel pollution. So I'm thankful again to be able to to have these conversations and to know that our legislation is moving in that direction. And so I know Mom's Clean Air, as for us, in supporting the health of children and our communities, we stand by you in this work, and thank you for everything that you're doing. And just know that however we can support this work goes a lot beyond the group of us today. And so really it's an honor to be with all of you today, and I'm excited to see the direction that this is really going to move for our communities and our school and our children and and our future generations. So thank you.